Hello, Jane Jackson. Wonderful to have you on this live with me today.
Oh, well, I'm delighted to be here, Sigrid. It's always wonderful to have a conversation with you. And if we're talking about books or careers, I'm into it.
That's your topic, right? So let me just give a very brief introduction to Jane Jackson. I think most people know who you are and what you do, but I'll just give a little bit of background. Jane Jackson, you are an award-winning career management coach, and you are the host of a top career podcast called Your Career, and that is very successful, and lots of people are interested in that because you are sharing so many tips and information on that podcast, right?
That's right.
You have helped over 8,000 clients right across the Asia Pacific and Europe region as well to make successful transitions in their career and find that dream career direction that they want to find. And I think it is your mission and your vision very strongly to help people in that, because you have some background yourself there in changes in your own life. Do you want to tell us just briefly a little bit about that life that brought you to that point of becoming that career management coach?
Well, there are so many transitions that I've made in my life, personal as well as professional transitions. And it wasn't until I turned 41 that I was given this opportunity to make another transition into coaching. And when I found out what coaching was all about and helping people to build their self-confidence in order to take control of their lives or careers and make that transition, that's when I realized I actually was born to be a coach. And for the first 20 years of my career, I'd been doing completely different things. I was working for British Airways and Korean Airlines. I'd worked in public relations. I transitioned into corporate training for a long time, as well as health and fitness training. So you can see over 20 years, I've made quite a number of transitions. I was interested in everything that I did, but there always was something missing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I discovered coaching and really being able to support people that at the same time I found out what my true career anchor was, which is dedication to a cause or service. So it's not all about making money or status and recognition. It's all about doing something for the community or to make a difference in someone's life. That's what really drives me. And so with the coaching, that's how I got into it. And for the past 20 years, it
brings everything together, I think, that coaching for you in what you are. And I think also sometimes when we do actually stop to take a moment and think back on our life and the various steps and stages we went through, we see this, what I call that red thread going through that we didn't actually see at the time, to find that or to see that, I think. And an interesting point I want to mention now, which you brought up before in a chat session with me, is that we both have done sort of firsts with pearls. Now you haven't got your pearl on today. Oh, your earrings. We've both been in a business separately, completely different, around selling pearls or sourcing pearls. Now you brought yours in. Was it from Hong Kong at the time or China? Where did you?
Hong Kong and China. It actually was. I started the business when I was in Singapore, living in Singapore, and I was importing initially Chinese peasant paintings, which were beautiful. But you know, popularity for certain things wanes and waxes and wanes. And when the bottom fell out of the market with regard to those paintings, then my business partner and I thought, what else could we do that would always be popular? And love jewelry. And so we transitioned into freshwater cultured pearl jewelry. And so we built this business. When I left Singapore, I sold it, and then I started it again in Sydney, but as an online option, as well as various fairs in the local area. And I just love pearls, ran it for 5 years, and then I sold the business. So it was really interesting. That was another transition as well.
And it is interesting. See, the way I got into pearls was that my first two businesses, I bought them. I didn't start them. Many people start a business. I bought them with the purpose to build them, to grow them, and then sell them again, which I did successfully. And in my first business, which was a diamond jewelry business here in Australia, Australia on the Gold Coast, I was the very first jeweler on the Gold Coast, not sure about the rest of Queensland, but certainly on the Gold Coast, the first jeweler who did bring in and sell Chinese freshwater pearls that they later on called Baroque style. So we had all fancy colors and shapes of pearl necklaces, and they were just a standout in the window. So yeah, something that, you know, we've both done, a very interesting point in the journey. So I want to come to your book, Jane's book, Navigating Career Crossroads. Now, it says straight away what it is about, and it says what you're about, really, in a way. And yet so many women in particular that come to me and that I see and that ask me for information, they are not being so clear in their book title and what they want to write about in their topic. That's not what I want to talk about. Right now, I want to ask you, way back, what actually made you want to write a book? That first snippet of information in your head, or, you know, what was going on for you? What made you want to write a book?
Well, I'm on this mission, as you've mentioned before, and the mission is a really strong one. I really want to make careers guidance accessible and affordable to everybody who needs it. And when it comes to one-on-one coaching, that's an investment into your career, and people might not be quite ready for that, but they still want some help. And I was coaching one-on-one, and so that's one to another person, or I was delivering workshops, and that was lovely. But I thought, you know, how can I reach more people? And in order to reach more people, you have to really share content. So I started blogging, and, you know, I was writing various articles on careers, and the more I wrote, the more I enjoyed it, and the better I got at it as well. And then someone said to me, you know, with everything that you're writing, there could be a book in that. And I thought, oh, who am I to write a book? I mean, who really would be interested in reading my book? So of course, there was that little self-limiting belief sitting on my shoulder as well, because if you're not an author yourself, you're kind of in awe of other authors. You think, wow, they wrote a book. And, you know, where do I start? How do I begin? What do I do? Why would anyone want to read what I've got? So it really was through encouragement of others. And way back in 2014, 2015, I was attending a 40-week business incubator, because I'd been coaching for a fair number of years, and I wanted to get out of that time for money thing that coaches tend to do, consultants tend to do, where if you turn up, you're earning money, but if you don't turn up, or you take a holiday, or if you're sick, you're not earning money. So I knew that I had to somehow productize my business, and one way was through creating content as a book. And so that's why I thought, okay, let me explore how I could actually put the knowledge that I have in my brain and the experience that I have from so many years of coaching into a book, and see if that would help people.
And that's a really interesting point that you've just shared there, Jane. I do have a lot of people coming asking or saying, you know, I've been told I should write a book. I've got all this knowledge, this experience, and this expertise to share. I really should. But for some reason, people then still often haven't got clarity around what the topic actually should be. And they hold themselves back, especially women, to actually get started. And I mean, I kind of had that experience. I never held myself back writing my own book. So I've got 3, you can see them there. That's the 3 that I have. And I used each one of my books, similarly to you, individually for one business or one direction I was doing at the time. And it did what you are using your book for. But I'm really happy to hear that you were pretty clear on how that book could really make a difference for you.
Well, you know, I had so many ideas going on in my head when I was thinking about writing this book. And initially I thought, oh, I'm going to write about how to write a resume, because I help people with writing resumes. Then I thought, well, maybe I should write a book about job interviews, because I help people prepare for job interviews. Then I thought, well, what about a negotiation book? And I was thinking of all of these different books that I could write about. But then I was given some very good advice, which was go to a number of bookstores, go to the business book section because I wanted to write a business book, and really it's a self-help book. That's what I've written, and go and see what's out there. And then I was horrified when I looked in the business section, because there are so many books on how to write a resume, right through to, you know, resumes for dummies. And then there are so many job interview books. And I thought, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to stand out in a crowded marketplace. What is it that makes me different? So I realized I needed to do a survey rather than just get some anecdotal, you know, advice from people. I thought I better do a proper survey.
Love it.
So I sent out 200 requests for past clients, the ones who I thought would respond, to this survey, asking what was it about the coaching when we worked together that was the most beneficial for you? Was it resumes? Was it job interviews? I asked them lots of different questions. And you know what was really interesting? And this is what helped me decide on how I would structure my book, was that 68% of the respondents said what I helped them with was to discover what they really wanted in their lives, what they wanted to be when they grew up as such. And I thought, oh, that was an aha moment for me, because I'd always thought it was more of the process of getting a job that I was good at. But no, I realized through that what I'm good at is helping people to see their own skills and knowledge and identify their values and build their confidence, because it's that confidence that you really need. So this is what Navigating Career Crossroads begins with. It's all about managing the stress of transition, and then how to identify what really makes you tick. And then it's that step-by-step process to land the job that you really would want.
Absolutely fantastic what you've just shared there. And I want to point that out straight away as tip number one: do a survey. That's certainly something that I've always, in all of the businesses I've had, and when I've worked with clients on their marketing, and of course in the book writing framework that I offer, do a survey on what your clients think of what you do. How do they describe it, in what words and what terminology? It is all very well for us to know and think what we know, but we do need to have what the potential reader later on, the person we want to attract potentially as a client, perhaps what they think and how they see it. Now that brings me straight away to the question too, Jane. I love how you described how many different things in that whole career management area or niche you are doing. And because you have kind of used that book with that title, you have segmented or niched it down further, and yet it is broad in some way, but it really stands for who you are and what you do. Now, were you thinking of branding yourself with it in that way, or was that something that kind of just came through later as you went through writing, and once you finished your book, did that idea of a branding book come into place, or was that initially?
No, it was the whole point of the book. It was driven by that mission. I just wanted to make careers guidance accessible and affordable to everybody, so you can get it as a Kindle book and you can get it as a paperback book, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg. So that was what my thinking was. I didn't really think about the branding side of it. It might have been slightly different if I had thought of it more of as a tool, but I was writing it because I really wanted to make a difference in someone's life. And I think that carries through with all of the coaching and training work that I do. However, after it was published, I realized there's so much more that I can do with it, because the writing of the book actually isn't the hard bit. It took me a year to write it. So it was pretty hard. And there were many times when I thought, oh, kill me now. I'm never going to get this finished. Why did I want to write this in the first place? And what was so good was that my husband was so supportive. And of course, I rallied around, friends and other entrepreneurs that I knew to keep me on track. And there was one lovely lady, Bridget, who she kept texting me saying, Jane, have you done your 10,000 words? in the past 10 days, because if you have, there's going to be a bottle of Veuve Clicquot for you. And so she dangled this carrot. So it was so nice because she was true to her word as well, because every time I wrote another 10,000 words, there was a little treat for me. And so she kept me motivated. And my husband was great, because there were times when I said, oh, I just want to go to the beach, or I don't want to write today, you know, let's go out tonight and go for dinner. He says, remember your mission, Jane. And then he'd look me in the eye and say, to make careers guidance. And I go, yeah. And that's what really helps. If you know what the reason why you're doing it, then when the going gets tough, you keep going, because it does take a lot of time and effort and blood, sweat and tears to actually get that book flung out into the world.
That is correct. So it does take time to bring your thoughts together. Now, the framework that I have created really helps with that part, very much so. And I understand what you're saying. It's so easy to get distracted. It's great to have somebody to hold you to account, somebody to, you know, be there and support you, encourage you, get you motivated. Again, that is hugely important. The key point that I found through having written those 3 books and really wanting to make a go of it, and having seen a lot of people, you are very dedicated and you have that mission there, that you stayed with it. Often, especially women being so distracted with many other things, let go and don't finish the book. What I've found is that exactly what you said. What is my mission? What do I actually want to achieve by having this book? What is my why? That is a big driving force, and that is the key point in the framework that I offer, that we focus on that initially and map out the entire book around that mission, which makes it really easy to focus on and stay motivated on writing the individual content for the chapters, or bringing it in from other parts of content you've already written. So great. I would say that's tip number 2 that you've just shared. Number 1 is do a survey to really look at what is it I'm doing? What do people perceive I'm doing? Number 2 is, what is my mission? What do I want to achieve with that book? So strong there for you. Love it, Jane. Really great. I want to now ask you something that I've been asked by different people from different industries, so different coaching areas. But this particular one came from somebody in your industry, in that career coaching, career management. I'll read it out how the question was formulated to me. The lady said, I concentrate on career development coaching. And by that, I mean I help people who are stuck in their career and aren't sure about what's next, and or how to achieve what they want to do, plus help them with creating their resume. All the things you said you were thinking of writing about as well. So she does all of those things as well. And she's asking, how do you answer, answered her question, how do I write a book? How do I know what to write on? I mean, that's really your story. That's really what you did. So what would you say to this person, this lady, from your angle, possibly going back into what you've already said? Give us an idea what you see in that question she had.
Well, it sounds like she's really in the same niche that I'm in, because career development coaching is what I do. Career transition coaching is what I also do, but what I really specialize in. And so if career development or career transition or supporting people in your careers is what you really love doing, and you want to write a book, ask yourself, why do you want to write this book? What's the purpose of it, first of all? Is it to help people gain the clarity that they need? Is it to brand yourself as a business? Because there'll be different ways to write it. I've learned over the years, if you're thinking of it more as a branding tool rather than a self-help tool. And once you know what that purpose is, then you'll be able to write it in such a way that it will work for you. I have a second edition of my book where I made some adjustments and also updated a lot of information, especially when it comes to LinkedIn training, because LinkedIn is constantly evolving. So I couldn't just have a book from 2015. I needed to update with all of the new features. And that's one of the good things about careers, is because they continue to evolve. Once you've published your book, if it's a really good book, you can make the updates, and then it boosts it up in the rankings on Amazon and wherever else you would like to market it again as well. But for this client of yours who is a career coach, understand the purpose of your book, whether it's branding or it's simply because you want to write a book because it's there and it's in your heart and it needs to go out. At the end of the day, once it's published, what do you want to do with it? And if you know how you're going to be leveraging your book for the benefit of your business, then that will be very helpful as well. Because it's all very well and good, writing a book from the goodness of your heart, which basically is what drove me initially. But once it's there, you don't want to have thousands and thousands and thousands of copies sitting in your garage, do you? You want to make sure that they sell, and there's got to be a good reason for someone to want to buy it. And my book, since the first publication in 2015, it's now 2023. So for 8 years, it continually sells because the topic is evergreen. Yes. The only thing that dates is the little bit of LinkedIn when they have new features. But then what I've managed to do as well, which your client may wish to do, is you can add links to your website to additional content, so that if people want to find the latest information, if it changes rapidly, they can click through, or they can, write down the URL and go to that page where you can get even more updated information and additional downloads and freebies or whatever else you might want to give them.
Fantastic. And again, it really aligns, and this is what I love about how you are using your book and that you wrote it for that. It really aligns with the framework that I have created from my own personal experience with writing a couple of books. And I'm just going to go through that again, because I think those tips you are throwing out here, for a very plain way of saying it, you're throwing tips out here. Just going to go that your first one was do a survey before you write your book. Do a survey and really look at what your clients are looking at or seeing that you do that's special about you, that really helps for this further niching down, or further segmenting down to get that clarity what you do in the eyes of your clients. Number 2 was write your book with this mission in mind. I call that the outcome in mind. What do you want that book to do for you? It's not about selling a book for the sake of selling books like you sell bread or bread rolls. It's about selling you, or for your expertise to be shared and reach more people. So that was number 2. And number 3, you've just highlighted, it is about what type of a book do you want to write? Sometimes people want to actually write more of a workshop type style book, where they really want to give very clear instructions and then lead the reader perhaps to the website as well. You've done that a bit different. You're giving clear workshop type training ideas, and there are links going off, and you particularly are working in the LinkedIn angle towards the towards people in career management using LinkedIn particularly. Although, and this is really interesting and great, you're not particularly mentioning that. Sometimes people mention LinkedIn on their books, and that can be a bit tricky and can date, because things do change so much. But your topic is broad enough and yet very niched enough for what type of a book should the person write. I love that. That is really fantastic.
The thing is that with navigating career crossroads, LinkedIn is just one part of the puzzle. There are actually 7 steps that I take people through within navigating career crossroads, and it follows my 7-step careers process, which I use the acronym CAREERS. And so that's my methodology, and it differentiates me from other coaches as well. So if you have a method, your own method, and you can name it, then that actually helps to keep you on brand as well.
Absolutely. Now let's come to number 4. The time just keeps running. I knew we have a lot to talk about, and I think we could talk for a whole hour or more. But I want to come to the 4th point that I had in mind, and you've already brought them all up on, you know, from your side anyway. The 4th one is making those book sales, which you are doing. You've just got an order of a large, you know, amount again, and you're getting regularly orders from well-known companies, and even I think government-connected companies that buy your book. Now, the purpose always that they buy it, obviously, is it's about in the company some sort of changes happening. People need to consider, what am I going to do next if this company is either letting go of employees or is going to go in a new direction. Do you find that it took time to have that book known to various organizations and places out there? What played into you being able to sell your books in larger quantities as well?
I think the important thing is when you write your book, don't think about, oh, I want this to be a bestseller. You've got to write the book. If it's a self-help book, it's got to be of benefit to people. And so once my book was published and people started to buy it, and obviously I did a little bit of online marketing as well via Facebook and LinkedIn, so that it generated awareness about the book. And I made sure that it was targeted towards obviously people who were job seekers, or people who were about to experience organizational change, or organizations who were which would be going through change in the near future. And so they realized what everyone would be doing would be to navigate their career crossroads. So I sent out copies of my book to certain people as well, to create that awareness. And because I conduct a lot of corporate training for career development journey, as well as career transition and confidence building and resumes and job interview strategies, etc., then it made a lot of sense that during my workshops that I would give away my book as part of the program itself. And so for quite a number of years, I was conducting career transition workshops, for example, at the New South Wales Police Force and New South Wales Police Legacy and other organizations. And as part of the program, because the content was so relevant to what I was delivering in the workshop, I would include my book as part of the program. For other workshops that I do, like the career development journey, which is more about developing in your career, I would have copies of my book, but I would use them as giveaways, because I always like to have a lot of fun during my workshops. And so we have little competitions, and if someone gets an answer right, or if they create something out of the materials I've given them that's really good, then they get to win one of my books as well. The benefit is that people feel good that they've won something. The second benefit, which is for me, is that when they're reading the book, they're being directed to more content that I have that will help them on my website, which in turn generates more awareness of what I offer individuals as well as companies. So
I love it. So that is so what I'm hearing, which is something that I teach the clients that work with me, is to get to the sale of quantities, larger quantities, and in general, you can send them out, you can gift them, you can make them a prize. You could align with organizations. As you said, you did workshops, training within those organizations, and so they got to know you and that you have a book. I mean, a book is definitely still the authority, instant authority up leveler for anyone, that you can say you've done that, because it does, I mean, it does take commitment to stay with it and actually write it. So love it, Jane. So that is really point number 4, or tip number 4, to get to make some sales. But it's not about the sales. I always say, look at what that book can do for you, not the sales so much, but look at how you can become that expert in your field. And again, as we've said a number of times, the title of the book is broad and yet it is close or niche. And within the book, you can bring up and raise all the other topics or the areas of your expertise that you are an expert in or that you do help clients in. So you're not missing out. In fact, you're broadening out, really, are you, with your book inside?
It's interesting that I have a little tagline underneath the title of the book,
Yes.
which is, well, it's Navigating Career Crossroads, but
Yeah.
how to, now I have the word survive, which is crossed out, replaced with thrive when changing direction. So very often when people have gone through a redundancy or been laid off or going through change, they're thinking, how can I survive this? But my focus is on, you know, when there is change that's thrust upon you, it's an opportunity to do what you really want to do. So navigating your career crossroads, you can really thrive because of change rather than just survive something that's happened to you. And that's what makes new directions in your career so exciting.
It does, and it expands yourself, your own thinking and your whole life, really, in a way. Jane, we are on the half-hour mark already so quickly. I am so excited about the tips that you've shared. Let me, again, I know I keep talking about that, but I really want to highlight those again because you've given some really valuable information here in this video. You've said, number one, as a tip for writing a book, it really pays to do a survey. If you're not 100% clear on the topic and what your clients really say about what you do in their terminology, a survey is a top part. And for me, that is part of marketing. That is how you do go into business and market your business. You got to do a survey. Number two was bring that mission in. Have this drive through your mission to want to write, stay with it, it motivates. Number three was, what type of a book is it? Do I need to have lots of links in my book leading people off? Is it more a workshop type book? Is it more of an inspirational type? All of them can be used for branding. You can specifically look at a branding one, but I think all of those types and any other type can certainly become a branding book. And to sell more or in larger quantities, align with organizations, go out there, promote what you do, how you do it, and have your book, Jane's book, ready there to say, this is the book. Gift it, hand it out, offer it for sale, offer it as a prize. So many ways that you can make a difference with your book, and that comes back later on to you over and over in cases that people want more, especially in that area of career management, I guess. And one topic can have so many details of other areas of expertise inside that book. I think that is valuable information for anyone wanting to write, anyone thinking, oh, I can't get narrower, I miss out. You are the example of, no, you're not missing out. In fact, you're actually broadening and widening your influence and your impact with your book. Parting words, Jane, for this session on branding you with your book. What are your parting words?
I think if anybody is reluctant to write a book because of a self-limiting belief, if you're an expert in your field and you really love what you do and what you do helps others, why are you keeping it to yourself? I think you owe it to others to share your expertise so that you can help as many people as possible. And in order to reach as many people as possible, one of the best ways is to allow them to purchase your book or to read your book. So think about all the people who are missing out if you don't share your knowledge. And there are many ways to share knowledge, of course. You can write a book, because Navigating Career Crossroads, that really reaches a lot of people. You can also tie it in with a podcast, like I have Your Career Podcast, and that's free. You can listen to it anywhere on any podcasting platform. And you also get a lot of career advice and inspiration and interviews with other interesting professionals who've made interesting career changes too. So don't hold back, share your knowledge and let other people benefit from what you know.
There's nothing to be afraid of. Get it out there is what I say. Thank you, Jane. That is wonderful. And that is exactly why I like to highlight that, yes, it might be, there might be, thinking around and wording around, oh, it's hard, it's difficult, it takes. But we do have so many tools these days that can also help make it easy and fast. In your own words, writing your book, it doesn't have to take a year. Mine first one took 8 months, not quite as long as yours, but took few versions of it. So thank you, Jane. Some wonderful tips here. If you watching the live right now, thanks for being here. And we will have this on as a replay. You can listen and watch it again. Thank you, Jane. Have a wonderful...
Thank you so much, Sigrid. It's been a pleasure. It's always lovely to chat with you, and congratulations on all your books too.
Thank you. Thank you.